My mom looked me in the eye and said, "Your sister gets everything from your dad." So I packed my bags and let them find out what everything really meant without me. Asterisk, my name is Elise Monroe, and I wasn't the favorite. That was my sister, Candace. She was always the one who sparkled the loud laugh, the easy charm, the stories that made people stop and listen. My mother, Denise Monroe, used to call her little me and say it with a glow in her voice, like she was remembering a better version of herself. Me? I was quiet. I liked puzzles, small spaces, routines. My teachers called me mature for my age. My mother called me a bit off. She said it with a smile like it was a harmless joke. But it wasn't. Not when it came every time I said something she didn't understand. At birthday parties, she'd lean over and whisper, "Try not to be weird today, Elise." Candace would show up late, wearing something bold and loud, and Mom would say, "Now that's a Monroe girl." It didn't change as we grew up. Candace was the firework. I was the floor lamp, useful, but forgettable. My father, Harold Monroe, was the only balance. He was a school custodian for over 30 years. Hands rough, voice low, eyes that always saw too much but said too little. He never missed a night at home, never raised his voice, and he never let me feel invisible. When I got accepted into a science magnet program in middle school, it was Dad who took me to the open house. He wore his good shirt, combed back his graying hair, and walked through every classroom with me. When we got back in the car, he said, "You're going to change something, Elise. I can feel it." And I believed him. Mom, on the other hand, barely looked up from the stove. "Oh, that's nice," she said. That's all I got. When Candace dropped out of community college, Mom said it was because the system wasn't built for creative people. When I got a full ride to a university 4 hours away, she said, "Well, don't get too smart to remember who raised you." Candace stayed home, had odd jobs, dated older guys with motorcycles and unpaid bills. But she was the one Mom called every day. She was the one who just needed a little help right now. I moved out, built my own life slowly, one spreadsheet at a time. I worked in data systems for a medical supply company, drove an old sedan, clipped coupons, and called once a week like a good daughter. Dad always answered, "How's the new project? Did you eat today? You sound tired, get some sleep." He didn't say much, but when he did, he meant it. Mom never said thank you for the flowers I sent on her birthday. Candace got a surprise party. That was the rhythm of my life, the quiet helper in the background. But I stayed close. I visited once a month. I brought groceries when the fridge was empty. I fixed their Wi-Fi, set up their bank accounts, made sure their smoke detectors beeped, until everything shifted. Dad collapsed one afternoon in the garage. It was a stroke. Minor, they said, but it left him slower, softer. He couldn't drive, couldn't walk without support. He was 69 and suddenly trapped in a body that didn't want to keep up. At first, we pulled together, or at least I tried to. I helped set up his appointments, coordinated care, even interviewed home aides. But after a week, Candace texted me, "I'm not good with medical stuff, just not my lane." And Mom, she folded a dish towel in the kitchen and said, "He's not himself. It's like the man I married is already gone." He wasn't gone. He was sitting in the next room, trying to button his shirt with shaking hands. I started coming by more often. I adjusted my work hours, brought homemade meals. Mom began disappearing long errands, brunch with friends, silent afternoons in her room. Candace showed up for Instagram selfies on the porch, pretending to be Daddy's girl online, but she never stayed long enough to wipe his mouth after lunch or change the linens when he had an accident. One Sunday morning, I found a notice on the table. A vacation package booked for 2. Jamaica all-inclusive spa, beachside dinners, live music. I turned to my mother, confused. "Who's going with you?" She didn't blink. "Candace, of course." I waited. Nothing else came. "And Dad?" I asked. She poured herself coffee and said, "You'll be here, right? You always are." Like it was settled. They didn't ask. They never asked. I became the nurse, the driver, the emotional sponge. I spent weekends helping Dad into the tub, learning the names of his prescriptions, ordering adult diapers and adaptive utensils while Candace posted filtered photos of coconut drinks. Mom came back from that trip tan and laughing. She brought me a keychain, a plastic turtle. "Thought you'd like it?" she said. I didn't reply. Things got worse after that. They traveled more, a wine-tasting weekend in Napa, a silent yoga retreat in Vermont, and each time, it was the same. You're just better at this than us, Candace said. Mom added, you know how your father gets. So delicate. He was a man who worked through pneumonia to fix a broken heater in winter. Now he was too delicate for them to bother with. But I stayed. I made sure he ate. I helped him shave. I laughed at the same stories again and again. And every night when I put him to bed, he'd touch my hand and say, thank you, kiddo. That's what kept me going. Until I noticed something strange. It started with the mail. I used to sort my dad's bills. Every second Tuesday, like clockwork, I'd sit at the kitchen table and go through the stack: electric, water, medication receipts, bank statements. But one day, they stopped coming, just gone. I asked my mom. Oh, she said, stirring her tea without looking up. We went paperless. Candace set it up. Easier that way. I didn't argue, but I didn't like it either. So later that week, I tried logging into his bank account, the same account I'd helped set up 5 years ago. Access denied. Password reset. Security questions changed. I called the bank directly. The manager paused. You're not listed on the account anymore, Ms. Monroe. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Since when? About 2 months ago. The primary account holders are Denise and Candace Monroe now. They have full power of attorney. I hung up slowly and sat at my desk in the dark. They hadn't told me. They'd just done it. Later that night, I brought it up. I found out about the account, I said softly. Mom barely blinked. It's just easier for us to manage things now. Legal stuff. Decisions. You didn't tell me, I said. It didn't concern you, she replied. Candace piped up from the couch, flipping through a beauty magazine. You don't need to worry about it. Elise, you do your thing. We've got this. But they didn't have it. They had him. Had Dad's money, his name, his signature, and they were using it. First it was a few dinners out. Then came the home remodel plans, a new backsplash, granite countertops, French doors for better light. All while Dad sat in the den, barely able to turn the TV on by himself. By year 7, he no longer left the house. He lived in the small sunroom, the one with the softest light and the view of what used to be his garden. Candace stopped coming by altogether. Mom claimed her arthritis made it too hard to lift. My joints lock up, she'd say. But she could still manage shopping trips and wine tastings. I cut my work hours in half. Teresa, our part-time nurse, only came 3 days a week. The rest, every bath, every appointment, every overnight emergency, that was me. And I didn't complain, not once. Because Dad always looked at me like he knew, like he saw. Then one Thursday after a scan, a routine one, we thought the doctor called me into his office. He didn't close the door. He didn't need to. Elise, I'm sorry, he said. Your father has late-stage pancreatic cancer. It's aggressive. Months, not a year. I walked back into the waiting room, holding my breath. Dad looked up at me and smiled gently. He didn't ask what the doctor said. He just reached for my hand and held it. That night, I emailed my boss and resigned. No notice. No hesitation. Because I knew what mattered now. Mom didn't ask why I stopped working. Candace just raised her eyebrows. Wow, she said. That's dramatic. But it wasn't. It was survival. Every moment after that was precious. I cooked soft foods he could swallow. I tracked every pill, every symptom, every sigh of pain he tried to hide. I read to him when he couldn't keep his eyes open. I shaved him slowly. I combed his hair like it still mattered. One night, while organizing the desk drawer in his room, I found a yellow folder tucked behind an old ledger. On it was my name. Inside was a letter. His handwriting. Neat, shaky, but still him. Elise, if you're reading this, I probably can't say these things out loud anymore, so I'll write them instead. You gave me peace when no one else did. You stayed. You gave up more than anyone will ever know, and I want you to have what I've been able to save. It's not much, but it's yours. Don't ask for permission. Start your life. Love always. Dad. Behind the letter was a lease agreement. A 2-bedroom apartment. About 30 minutes away, near a lake. He'd made a deposit. And I knew why. Michael, the hospice coordinator who sometimes filled in for Teresa, had become something more than just kind. We'd shared coffee on the back porch, talked late into the night about grief, about choices, about staying and leaving. We weren't dating, not officially, but we weren't strangers either. Dad knew. He never said anything, just smiled one morning and said, "He's solid. I like that." That folder held more than a letter and a lease. There were also printed receipts, a wedding venue deposit, florist, down payment, a tux rental schedule with Michael's name circled in blue ink. Dad had planned a future for me. For us. He never told Mom. He never told Candace. Just me. The day before he lost the ability to speak, he whispered it again. Don't wait for permission. I nodded, and held his hand until morning. He passed 2 days later, quietly, while I was folding the laundry, just feet away. I came back into the room and knew the moment I saw his chest, still no gasp, no last word. Just peace. I called Teresa. Then I called hospice. Then I sat with him for a long time, not crying, just being, holding space. Because that's what he always did for me. I called Mom 3 times. No answer. On the 4th try, she picked up. We're at brunch, she said. Handle what needs handling. And I did. I made the calls. I filed the paperwork. I scheduled the service. I paid for the flowers with my own card. Candace texted later. What time's the funeral? Might have plans, not sure yet. She showed up late. Wore sunglasses indoors. Mom arrived like she was attending a garden club gala, all pearls and posture. They didn't speak to me. Not until after the service. That's when Mom sat on the couch and said, "We need to talk." Candace held up a document. "This is just a waiver," she said. "You're agreeing not to contest the estate. It's just paperwork." I looked down at it. My dad's name at the top, my name nowhere. "You don't live here," Mom said. "And you have your little apartment now. You're starting a new life. It's only fair. You're getting married," Candace added. "You don't need the house." I said nothing. Just signed. No one thanked me. I signed the waiver. Just like they wanted. Candace smiled, like she'd won something. Mom leaned back on the couch, already moving on in her mind. "You'll need to be out in 10 days, she said. "We've contacted a realtor already." "Timing is everything?" I nodded once. Didn't argue. Didn't ask for more time. Didn't ask why they were treating me like a squatter in my own father's house. That night, I packed what mattered. A framed photo of Dad on the porch, a stack of his notebooks, and the yellow folder he left me. Everything else, they could keep it. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't even look back. 3 days later, my phone rang. A number I knew too well. The old house. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "Elise," my mother snapped, not even saying hello. "Where is it?" I blinked. "Where's what?" "The money," she hissed. "From your father's account. It's gone. Everything." "What did you do?" I let the silence sit. Then said calmly, "I didn't have access. Remember, you and Candace had power of attorney. I was removed from the account." "Don't be clever," she spat. "The passbook was in the desk. The account number. We were tracking everything. And now it's gone." "That's strange," I said. "You should talk to the bank." "You think this is funny?" "No," I said. "I think it's finally fair." In the background, I heard Candace's voice. "She took it. Ask her again. Ask her where she hid it." Mom came back on. "Elise, we need that money. We have plans." I almost laughed. "Plans? We put a deposit on a cabin retreat," she said. "Sabrina's taking time off work. We need the funds. We counted on them." "You never checked the balance?" I asked. "Why would we?" He barely spent anything. He just sat there. I took a deep breath, then gave them the truth. "Dad used that account," I said, "to pay for my apartment deposit. For the venue, for the wedding, for the florist, for the photographer. It's all gone, yes, but not stolen. Spent on someone who stayed." "You're lying," Candace snapped. "I'm not. You had the legal rights. But he made his choices long before that. You just didn't notice. So that's it," Candace shouted. "That's the inheritance. Some rent and a backyard wedding." I didn't answer. Because yes, that was it. And it was more than they ever gave. There was a long pause. Then, Mom's voice came back, quieter. "We have nothing left. Elise, the house needs repairs. The cruise deposit is not refundable. We were depending on that money. You told me," I said slowly, "that I was never part of this family. That Candace got everything from Dad. So I walked away. And now you get to find out what that actually meant." She didn't answer. I ended the call, and blocked both numbers. I didn't hear from them again. Not directly, anyway, but word gets around. They couldn't get the cruise money back. Candace had already posted photos of luggage and new sunglasses with palm tree emojis. They canceled everything. The embarrassment alone cost them more than money ever could. The house didn't sell for what they expected. The plumbing needed work. The roof leaked. And once buyers saw there were no savings for repairs, no upgrades, and two people fighting over the deed, they walked. They ended up selling below market just to get out. Moved into a small condo on the far edge of town. No garden, no porch, no room for guests. Candace tried to get her old job back. They'd already filled the position. She bounced around temp work, posted vague memes about betrayal and fake people. Whatever man she was chasing disappeared. She took down her relationship status. No one asked why. Mom tried to volunteer at the church boutique. They said they were full. She stopped wearing makeup in public. A neighbor said she looked tired. I think that was the first time anyone had said that to her. And me, I didn't say anything, didn't gloat, didn't send messages, didn't post quotes. I just lived. We got married in early fall. It was small, quiet, gentle. The kind of day you'd miss if you weren't looking closely. The kind of joy that doesn't scream, it settles in your bones. Michael wore a simple gray suit. I wore a dress my coworker helped tailor. We said our vows under an oak tree at the venue Dad had circled in a brochure tucked behind a park. Filled with birdsong and late sunlight, there were no empty chairs, but I felt Dad there. In the wind, in the pause before I said I do. In the quiet way Michael held my hand. We framed Dad's letter and hung it near the front door of our apartment. The ink is fading now, but the words still hold. Take care of yourself first. You've done more than enough for me. And sometimes when I come home from work, I stop and reread it. Not because I need to. Just because I can. Dad didn't leave me a fortune. He left me peace. And I think that was the point all along. Some people inherit houses. Some people inherit silence, and if you've ever been the one who stayed, who gave more than anyone ever asked for, this story is for you. If you were the one who bathed your parent alone, who paid the bills no one else remembered, who got forgotten in the will or left off the thank you card, I see you. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to defend why you walked away, because maybe you already gave them everything they were never willing to earn. And maybe, just maybe, the truth isn't loud. It's not revenge. It's not rage. It's just quiet. And walking away without guilt.